Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to Hustle and Flow. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and we are on episode 212. And today I have special guest Parker Stevenson of Evolved Finance to talk about financial literacy and bookkeeping and accounting when it comes to growing your business in a healthy way. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that the Get It Done Challenge is coming up November 11th through the 15th. The election is going to be over. Hopefully, Kamala Harris won. And we are going to be moving in to the holidays. There's so much to do to preparing for the holidays, to reaching our year-end goals, that it can get a bit chaotic. But this year is going to be different. We're going to hit those goals. We are going to plan for what we want to do, but we're also going to do it in a peaceful, easeful, and joyful way. And we're going to do it with the Get It Done Challenge. So go ahead and sign up today. It is absolutely free. There are prizes involved. You can get all of the details at getitdonechallenge.com. Getitdonechallenge.com. Okay, let me introduce you to Parker. I started working with Evolve Finance many, many years ago. And I thought it was about time that we actually had them on to share just so much of their wisdom with you. So let me introduce you to Parker. He is the CEO of Evolve Finance, an accounting firm that specializes in helping online entrepreneurs to build more profitable and financially stable businesses through their bookkeeping and tax preparation services. He is also the author of the upcoming book that is coming out very soon, Profit Pillars, a proven system to maximize your bottom line in your online business. Since 2014, Parker has been advising some of the top coaches, course creators, influencers, and thought leaders on how to make more sound business decisions using their financial data. Parker, welcome to Hustle and Flow.
Heather, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. So there is so much that I want to talk about, but I would love for you to share first and foremost, because most people who are listening are either entrepreneurs or they're thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. So we have a lot of professionals like you and me with our backgrounds that are kind of wanting to go into that space. It has been really interesting to watch you and Corey and evolve. Even from like how Corey started to like all of that. So I would love for you to share a little bit about Evolved Finance and how it truly has evolved over the years. I just think people find that kind of stuff interesting because you have a great business.
Well, I'm not trying to plug my book right off the bat here, but I have a book coming out in November. And so it's been an achievement that's kind of forced me to look at the last 10 years and maybe a new light. Because my book, Profit Pillars, is truly the culmination of like all the work, not just me, but my business partner, right? Like, as I'll share in just a second, this business was founded by him. I didn't come into a bit like I didn't found this business, which is kind of a unique part of the story as well. And so I've been doing a lot of reflection around like each year, especially when you have a service business like we have, because given the nature of the work we do, we have a bookkeeping, now accounting firm, we do taxes, some business coaching around our clients' numbers. And as a service-based business, it can feel like you're going at a crawl, like in terms of growth, right? Each year, it feels like especially for us watching all of our other clients who are selling digital products and coaching programs, seems like they're growing faster. And they have, we've had clients go from like high 5 figures to all of a sudden in a year, we watch them grow to 7 figures. And so it's easy to feel like every year you're like, I mean, we're growing a little bit, but it doesn't feel like a lot changes until 10 years go by. And then I look back at where we started and I go, this business is unrecognizable in good ways. Like, I'm just like, how did we get here? But at the same time, every year feels like you're not making enough progress, and it doesn't feel like things are moving that fast. And we've had some years where more stuff's gone on. We've had more growth and more changes than others. But there's a kind of a cliche saying that we overestimate what we can do in a year and
Yep.
underestimate what we can do in 10. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
truly just had hit 10 years in August 1st with Evolve Finance, and I've just been blown away by how much has changed for us and how far we've really come. But that's the thing as entrepreneurs, Heather, I'm sure you've experienced this yourself, where you feel like, I didn't do as much as I want this year. It's easy to compare what other people are doing and think
Mm-hmm.
they're doing more. And the reality is even if you have ups and downs in your business, like I think the one thing I'm just really kind of sitting on right now is just appreciating our journey and appreciating that like some of this is just it's a marathon. It's a long game. And if you're in it
Mm-hmm.
for the long haul, you can get a lot more done than maybe you even realize.
Well, and when I think back, when I started working with Evolved, it was a pretty small team, I believe, and I was having one-on-one calls with Corey every single month. So this has been a
Mm,
while, right?
yes, that's a
And
while ago.
yeah, but there can be a lot of fear and trepidation around growing a business, a service-based business, especially when it's not just coaching, right? Or like a group, like you were actually serving the individual, and to say I'm stepping back or I'm changing the way this is being delivered, it can be scary because like we think, oh my gosh, all my clients are going to leave, they're going to hate this. Um,
Yes.
and I mean, I stayed. I like because I don't know. I feel like if you're an entrepreneur, you should be happy that other entrepreneurs are growing. And so it's just been really amazing to witness how you went from the founders were doing one-on-one calls and reviews every single month
Mm-hmm.
to getting to the point where you have quite a big staffing, a lot of clients. You all clearly are not doing those one-on-ones, and you even have the accounting piece.
Yes, we finally, it took us like 8 to 9 years to finally add a new revenue stream, but our whole business was around bookkeeping, which is not the norm for accounting firms, simply because the bookkeeping piece seemed to be the weak spot in this industry. We just so many clients, so many people we knew who were just getting terrible experiences in other places, and we said, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
if we can actually shape a service that actually delivers on the value I think business owners may not even realize they need to be getting from their bookkeeping team. We can charge maybe more than what another bookkeeper would charge, but deliver significantly more value that our clients would go, oh, this is now I get what bookkeeping's really supposed to do. We work in a very highly commoditized industry, right? Like it's who can do my bookkeeping the cheapest, who can just get my taxes done the cheapest. And that's not always what every business owner needs, especially the ones we serve who like have 6 and 7 and even 8-figure businesses. You need something different than when you're like, I made $15,000 this year and I just need to get my taxes filed and something put together from a bookkeeping standpoint so I can move on. But for us, when you're the main service provider, you just always feel like no one can do it the way we do it.
Right.
Right? Like it's really hard to think that. But the secret, I think, for and it's not really a secret, but I think what a lot of business owners don't understand the power of is like building a framework. And that's really what Profit Pillars is about. This is the culmination of the development of our framework of like, here's our perspective on finance for this specific type of business, which we focus on
Mm-hmm.
online businesses. And when you have a framework, then you can actually build a business around that more easily versus, let's say, look at our competitors. If we were just doing bookkeeping, we'd be serving any kind of business that comes our way. We would just be hiring team members, which just like get the work done, but there's no consistency. There's no perspective on it. There's no vision for how the work needs to get done. There's no clarity on what's the value we're delivering to the client. And so you get lost in all that, and all of a sudden you're not charging enough to scale. The clients are coming and going really quickly because you're no different than everyone else, and you're just competing on price. And for us, because I think we understood what our clients were looking for so clearly, we were able to build something where it wasn't commoditized. It was something that we could then start to teach and train other people to do better than Corey and I could do, because Corey and I are running a business while also serving the clients. Now we have a team that their only focus is on serving clients. So go figure, the customer service experience has only increased because of that. But There's things you have to let go of. And this is something I talk to our clients a lot about. Growing a business has less to do with adding things and it has more to do with letting go of stuff. And we've had to let go
Mm-hmm.
of some things that we felt scared to let go of. Like, it's really amazing, Heather, that you understood that maybe there'd be some trepidation and fear around us, like Corey and I not being able to do one-on-one calls anymore. We still support our clients in a lot of other ways, but that was
Yep.
one area. Like, we're not going to grow if we continue to operate like this and serve more people. So there's a lot of those decisions you have to make. But if you're clear on the way you can really help our clients, I think we deliver more value to our clients than ever before, because
Mm-hmm.
our clients have the full attention of our team versus, of course, Corey and I were giving it our all, but Corey and I are split between, doing a lot of other work to operate the business while serving the clients. And that's just not fair to our clients. That's not how, what we felt. So it's, again, I speak about all this and I feel like I go in a million different directions, but hopefully that makes some sense, Heather,
Yes.
of what I'm talking about here.
I've got several follow-up questions. Okay, so first, let's talk about, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of tell you where I'm thinking, so you can kind of address them in whatever order you want. But
Sure.
one is, when is the right time to hire a bookkeeper? Because I think that kind of came up in what you were talking about, right? Like, not everyone actually needs a bookkeeper. And then
Yes.
what is it that you're actually looking for in a bookkeeper? I went through two bookkeepers before I found you all, and I was
Mm,
pulling my hair out
yes.
because they were just trying to reconcile. And when I would have questions and want them to do it a certain way related that would allow me to follow revenue streams and figure out which revenue stream was the most profitable and things like that, they were like, the IRS doesn't care. And I'm like, I'm not doing bookkeeping just for the IRS. This is just
Yes.
not for my taxes. Like, I came from that corporate background where I was in management and I was sitting down with the CFO every month. And so I get that, running a huge law firm versus being a solopreneur is different,
Of
but
course.
some of those foundational pieces, are still important. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about, like, when do you need a bookkeeper and why you all are different. I mean, I could tell why I think you're different, but why it's important to not just be reconciling.
First off, correct. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell everyone, oh yeah, everyone needs to work with Evolve Finance. It's just not true. We want to find people who are a good fit for our service, so that everyone wins and we can deliver the most amount of value. What I tell business owners all the time is, if you have to do the bookkeeping yourself, that's totally fine in the early stages of your business. I do not recommend trying to learn how to use bookkeeping software yourself, though. When we have clients come to us where they were doing their own books, it's we I will say this, in 10 years, I've had one out of hundreds of clients. We've had one where I'm like, dang, you killed this. Like, it. Like, I don't know how you figured this out, but you figured QuickBooks out, and she did a phenomenal job on her books. Everyone else turns it into a disaster, because you have to know accounting principles. You have to know these fun. It's not about learning the software alone. It's like learning software and understanding accounting principles that, like, as a business owner, it's not really important for you to know these accounting principles. That's not really your job. And I'm not someone that says, oh yeah, like, just your accounting team should do everything and don't ever take responsibility for your numbers. I couldn't believe in anything more oppositely. But there is a level of depth and detail that it's like, okay, now you're doing too much, business owner. Like, there's no way you're going to be an expert around this. So I usually tell business owners, if you're doing it yourself, then use a spreadsheet. And as part of the launch of our book, Profit Pillars, we're going to have a financial toolkit that will be selling as a supplement to the book. That's going to include a spreadsheet that we've put together. It's pretty awesome. We have a spreadsheet guy that helped us put this together, and it's a work of art. That if you're going to do it yourself, a spreadsheet's going to allow you to, like, get something for your accountant, and our spreadsheet's going to help you also analyze your numbers a little better in our framework. But the likelihood of you screwing up a spreadsheet is going to be way less than if you're in software. And so what I say is, if you're doing this in a spreadsheet and you're getting to the point where you're like, this is cumbersome, like, this is too much, there's too many transactions going through my business because I'm selling more, spending more money, that's usually a sign of, all right, maybe I need to actually hire someone to do this now, because chances are your transactions are increasing. You're also probably making more money too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what happens is, because a lot of business owners commoditize this part of their business. Again, they think it's just to file their taxes. It's just something the government needs. They'll do it themselves for a long time. They're willing to deal with the fact that, yeah, this is probably not super accurate. Maybe my taxes are going to be off, but they don't realize that, oh, I'm missing out on the opportunity to understand my business better. And that's why I'm like, as soon as you can afford to pay someone to do this and do it professionally, the sooner you get to start really getting an education on your business. Because I know in our industry, we're very sales and marketing focused, and as we
Mm-hmm.
should be, because if you're not selling anything, you don't really have a business. But as you know, Heather, you get to a point where you're like, cool, I'm making money, I'm bringing revenue in, but now this whole new game comes into play, which is, well, how do I manage my cash flow? How do I make good decisions with what I invest into my business, the things I'm going to spend money on in my business? And that's where professional bookkeeping can really help you to understand how money moves through your business before your business gets messier and more complicated. So as your business does grow and get a little messier, a little more sophisticated, a little more complicated, you have that foundational knowledge and you're like, oh yeah, no, I knew what was going on when my business was smaller. And as it's grown, I've been able to keep up with that and see that, and it doesn't become overwhelming. But that's a piece I just think a lot of business owners don't always value or don't understand is valuable until it's kind of too late. And then they got to like make up for lost time later on.
Yeah. And I feel like whether you're having those one on ones or you're just getting a report that has like really good indicators, just being able to act like it's a neutral third party, even if it
Yeah.
is a spreadsheet, right? That is basically reflecting back to you problems and opportunities in the business. So I think, especially the people who are listening to this podcast and probably a lot of your clients, we're not the kind of like startups with, funding and
Yeah.
we're not those kinds of entrepreneurs. So they're really our babies. And so sometimes we don't make the best business decisions. We're not using our CEO hat, we're using our personal hat. And sometimes
Yes.
seeing those numbers from a neutral, objective perspective can really call us to the mat to say, what am I doing here?
Well, it's something I talk about a lot, which I know a lot of accounting, finance type people don't, but the emotional side of money is something I think a lot of business owners underestimate because, like you said, Heather, like if you have a startup, if you're doing a startup and you're receiving funding, you're spending other people's money, I think it's easier to separate the financial responsibility you have there because chances are you're incorporated. Chances are you have other employees right off the bat, or you might even have other partners or investors, and so it doesn't feel as much like yours
Right.
as much as I think the type of businesses we all run, which is like
Mm-hmm.
it starts out as just you, maybe with your, you're using a personal bank account, you're experimenting, some money comes in, all of a sudden things start to take off, all of a sudden you're quitting your job, and it's just this whole journey, but it's kind of centered around you. Like you said, no investors. There's no, chances are, most of our clients don't have business partners. So it's just easy for the emotional and financial identities of your business and you personally to kind of stay linked. And that's a dangerous place to operate a business from. You
Mm-hmm.
can get away with it to a certain extent, but eventually, especially all of the clients we work with who are kind of break through that mid six figure range, like get to 500,000 or more, then it's like this is no longer an option. If you want to actually grow, sustain, be profitable with your business, then it's like we got to start putting on our like big adult pants and like start to treat this as like a business that's
Right.
separate from ourselves. But that can be a tough, I think, mental or
Yeah.
psychological division to make because in some ways it's easier to just like let things feel comfortable. But on the flip side, if we don't get out of that comfort zone and start really thinking about, okay, what's going on with my numbers? What's going on with my marketing metrics? What's going on with the hires I'm making? Do I have to up level my offer? Do I have to up level my marketing? Like we have to up level gradually, not all at the same time, but different parts of our business. And I think the up leveling of our financial literacy is just one of those things that
Mm-hmm.
is usually at the bottom of our to-do lists as business owners. But I try to say this out loud to as many people as I can. Your business is your cash flow. Like your business is, I don't care how heart-centered your business is. At the end of the day, if you don't turn a profit, you're not going to be able to keep doing it, and you're not going to help more people with whatever it is you help them with. So this is a piece of our business that if we can start to learn in the earlier day, and you can play catch up if your business is bigger, totally you can play catch up. But if you can start to get some good financial practices earlier on and really separate your business and personal lives as soon as possible, you're just going to make it easier for yourself down the road. But it's the equivalent of me telling everybody to eat their vegetables because they'll be healthier if they do that, right? It's like, well, I know if I eat more broccoli, but I don't want to eat more broccoli. That's kind of what I feel like I'm saying with a lot of this stuff, but it's just something I see our clients over and over and over again go, oh man, I wish I did this earlier.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it is even like when you start, like you're setting habits, like whether you want to or not, that's what you're doing. And I focused more on revenue than profitability at the beginning. And my theory was, and I said it from the beginning, I'm going to keep reinvesting in the business so that it will eventually pay off. But I had
Yeah.
created a habit of not paying myself. And that habit does not change the more you make. So, right, like setting, and it doesn't mean you can pay yourself a ton to begin with if you've got that mindset, but having a percentage or something, right? Like to really set the habit of what this business is going to look like. And that's one thing that I definitely did wrong and tell people all the time. You really do have to focus on profitability from the beginning, even if it's going to look different as it evolves. But if you're just focused on revenue, you're going to experience a lot of heartache, especially when, and I'm going to combine this and then let you chat about it, especially when like I had a health crisis that I had
Yeah.
not planned for, and it totally took me out. And that's where you really like profitability matters, when it really is, right? Like it is a business, but it is also your salary. It's what you're bringing home. And you and I were chatting a little bit earlier. Sometimes it's not even a health crisis. It might be your child's or your parents or
Yeah.
the
Life.
economy, right? Like where the economy is going to, right there, it's not always up. You're going to have ups and downs, and being able to focus on that profitability and cash flow because you don't know at what point you're going to need it. And so trying to assume that it's always going to go up is really a recipe for disaster.
I think part of the problem here, and Heather, if you don't mind me going down this path, is just not, we have to be clear on what's the game we're playing with our businesses, right? Because a business is not created equal for all business models, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you had mentioned the startup thing.
Yep.
You're getting funding, you're spending other people's money, right? Sure, maybe you've invested some in your into your business as well, but most people do not have millions of dollars to
Right.
invest in their businesses. They have to go find it. And so should profit be the goal of those businesses too? Like a tech startup, of course, but it's just not. Like those businesses are going to make money. Number one, from funding, right? That's going to fund the partners or the founders' salaries while they're trying to build this thing. They're going to get their cash out when either the business sells, right? They might be
Right.
buying something that's going to get bought out by a bigger company or merge with a bigger company, or they're going to try to go public. And then when
Mm-hmm.
they go public, get their IPO, they become millionaires or billionaires overnight, right? It's like big risk, big reward. The
Right.
amount of money you can make is significant, but also the amount of failure is mind blowing. Most of these businesses fail. The founders really don't ever have anything to show for it versus online businesses. It's very different. You can be profitable right off the bat, but none of our clients, no matter how successful they are, at least in the current iteration of the businesses they're running, they're not going to be publicly traded companies.
Right.
Chances are they're never going to get bought out. And if they do get bought out, it's not going to be for like 100x
Right.
ROAS, or, they're 100x their whatever their recurring revenue is, or their EBITDA, or whatever it may be, right? Like I've seen 7-figure businesses buy out partners for like 1 year of a modest salary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we have to understand. We have to understand this as business owners. The goal for the types of businesses we're running is not to get purchased, at least for most of us. If you have a service business, there's some caveats here, but otherwise, the name of the game is profit. That's how we make money and actually build our wealth. Now, of course, in the early stages, you're just trying to make sales. You may not be making enough sales to cover expenses. You might even be losing a little money. That makes total sense. But Heather, like I appreciate you kind of sharing your experience, which, well, I'm going to keep investing in it to help it grow. But we have to go, well, what is the point of growth? is it because we think we can be more profitable when we're bigger, or is it because we're just kind of lost sight with the goal here, which is profit, and you can be profitable right now? And that's the thing, that's the conversation I've had to have with a lot of our clients, where they give up, you have to give up some revenue or some profit for growth, but if you give up too much, you get to this like revenue level and then you go, oh, like what did I get out of this? Because what you lost was an opportunity during that growth to actually be profitable, so you can build up savings in the business,
Mm-hmm.
so you can invest back in your business without having to go into debt, so you can get paid and you can put money into your retirement accounts or save up to buy real estate or whatever it is. Because once you've made those sales to those people on your list or in social media and you're following, like, unless you're going to make another thing to sell them, you just missed out on the opportunity to sell it to them profitably.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is the realization we need to have, where yes, some startups need to get market share. They need to get to market before their competitors do. That's not what we're doing here. Sure, you have to spend money to make money, but we can't lose sight of the fact that the reason we're spending money is so we can make more money, so we can also be more profitable. But we need financial feedback in order to make sure we're finding that balance for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And then will you talk briefly kind of about the market? So for people who are listening and they're like, I was doing so well and I'm really frustrated. I've gone backwards a little bit this year or even these
Mm-hmm.
past 2 years, and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. When you're in these cycles, I'm curious from a business perspective, do you just wait it out and that's where you need cash reserves, or do you
Mm-hmm.
recommend people pivot? Like how do you view that?
I've been talking about this a lot on our group calls and with side client conversations a lot lately. This is kind of a first for the online space. So, Heather, when did you start your business? Remind me.
2014.
20. So, okay. Your OG status then, because that's what I figured you were. I got involved in 2014. Is it safe to say that it was a much different environment and marketplace back then than it is now?
Wildly different.
Some of the things that come to mind was you could have a modest email list and make hundreds of thousands, if not seven figures in
Mhm.
revenue. When I got involved, people were barely doing Facebook ads. It was a lot of affiliate marketing, JV relationships,
Mhm.
just content marketing, SEO, a blog. You just have a blog and make money from a
Oh yeah.
blog and build a massive audience, right?
Yeah.
It was a less competitive landscape, and it was more cost. There was more cost-effective ways to generate leads, get the attention of people.
Facebook ads
Um,
were so cheap. It
oh,
was all, you still, the privacy issues hadn't come up yet. I mean, I could sell high ticket offers like I didn't even have to have a funnel. I did have funnels, but people would just buy right off of the ad because there was really not a lot of competition.
no, and it was so cheap. It was so
So
much
cheap.
cheaper.
It was so cheap.
But like again, like when the first couple years that I was looking at all these online businesses profit and loss statements, I don't even think half of them were running ads. It was just like utilizing social content marketing, SEO, and joint ventures with other
Mm-hmm.
people with audiences and sharing audiences with each other. And so as the years went on, especially right before the pandemic, it kind of came to a head. Ads got more expensive during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. More people started online businesses. So all of a sudden it got more competitive. Consumers have gotten smarter. They're more privy to the techniques and
Yep.
sometimes manipulate, if we're being honest, manipulation tactics to get people
Yep.
to buy, that I think is kind of an archaic way of marketing now, that people are still trying to use old tactics to sell in a new environment. And then also just the fact that like inflation has been wild. Like
Mm-hmm.
are the, if you're under 45, you've never been an adult where you've seen an economic situation like this, where sure we've had recessions, but like inflation's been a real thing, where the cost of everything is so much higher. So now we have consumers that just have smaller budgets, right? And I think we're in the heart of this. There's going to be opportunity that's going to come out from this. But one of the biggest things, Heather, I've seen is we've had a lot of people who have come up in the online business space, have built audiences, came from a period of time where it was kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's always been, it's taken effort, it's taken know-how, it's taken knowledge, it's taken strategy. but it's a whole new, you have to run a business now, Heather, right? In the
That's
back
right.
of the day, I felt like people were just opening cash machines on the internet and calling it a business, right? It was like, here's my cash machine website. And there just wasn't this mindset of like, I'm going to build a team and we're going to have a culture and I got to run payroll and we're going to run a business. It's just like, I'm going to sell some stuff and let's see how much money comes in this launch, right? And it was fine. It wasn't that these people were doing anything shady. They were still trying to deliver value, but they felt like they had a cheat code where it's like, I get to make money like an entrepreneur, but I don't have to deal with all the same responsibilities a startup has to, the way like a local business, like if you're starting a restaurant or a dry cleaners or a retail business, where you have to really do some due diligence and really take some massive risk. And so in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of people in our industry go, oh, this is like really hard. Maybe even for the first time in their careers, they didn't grow. Maybe they went backwards, and it's testing a lot of people. Like, are you in this for the long game? And so we've seen people leave. People shut down their businesses. I've seen people burn down their businesses when they didn't have to, simply because they're like, they didn't have the resilience. Like they just didn't know how to they didn't know how to get their egos out of the way to go, what needs to be done here versus what do I think I deserve, or this shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't have to do this work. I shouldn't have to do these things. I thought I moved past this part of running a business. And it's like, online business space, welcome to the world of business for everyone else since business has existed, right? Like we've had it really good for a long time, and there are people shifting, they're pivoting, but we can't just like run the same funnels with the same communication and language. We have to understand what our customers are going through. We have to speak to them. We can't be tone deaf to what everyone's dealing with in terms of inflation and the economy. And also we have to be more strategic. We can't throw as much spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And again, for me, that drives everything back to, do we know our numbers? Because our numbers will inform us of what's working and what's not working and hold us accountable to making sure we're not trying to do too much at the same time, because a more surgical, more precision-based strategy is, I think, necessary now. Everyone is still capable of figuring it out. The internet is still the great equalizer in the world of entrepreneurship. We work with a ton of women. We work with a ton of people of color who historically would not have had businesses, but we also have to be honest with ourselves that we have to up our games. It's just a more competitive environment.
This has been so good. Tell everyone about your book, where they can get your book. And I think you also have, is it like an audio course? So tell us all the things. How can people find you?
Sure. If you want to continue to learn with me, learn more about the financial side of your business, then I do have a book coming out. It's called Profit Pillars. If you just go to evolvedfinance.com, Heather will get the direct link. You can pre-order right now. The book will be out and shipping November 19th, but we are going to have some ridiculous pre-order bonuses. We have a summit coming out at the end of October that you'll get for free if you just pre-order the book, and this summit is ridiculous. So evolvedfinance.com to learn more about that. You'll also see on our website, we do have a free audio course. It's like a little podcast you can download right onto your phone, and it's going to like essentially give you a mini crash course in finance for your online business. And then you can follow me on social, follow Evolved Finance on social. We're pretty active on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and LinkedIn, you name it. We're probably going
all the places.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, I will have all of the links in the show notes. Go check it out. Go buy the book. Parker, thank you so much for coming on.
Heather, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after-show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.